Hey y'all, how are you? It's Burgess, A Journey with Burgess, depending on where you are at. I hope that you're having a great day. I wanted to talk about to finish or not to finish a journal. That is the question. Do you have to have finished journals? Or you just stopped doing what you were doing and went on to a brand new journal? I do. I have quite a few of them. Actually, I counted just some of the ones that were close by, and I had at least 11 from the past few years that are unfinished. Now, some I have gone back in and done work in. Some I have repurposed. Say I have a journal that I was doing bullet journaling in, and then I've repurposed it to do morning pages in. But other journals are just half finished. I don't know why this is. I have a few ideas. I know there are some of the reasons that I have stopped using a journal is because of perfectionism. Other reasons is because of FOMO, fear that I'm missing out on something that's better, like changing things up because maybe this system would work better, or maybe this size journal would work better, or maybe this type of journal would work better. To tell you the truth, there's a lot of different reasons, but it boils down to usually perfectionism or fear that I'm missing out on something better. Not necessarily because other people are using it, but because I haven't committed to the journal I'm in, or haven't committed to a certain size, because I get into doing something and then it just feels like maybe I need to switch things up because not being very productive, or I need to switch things up because it just doesn't feel right or it doesn't look right, which is back to perfectionism. But the other day I was doing stuff in what was my bullet journal, which is this journal that you see right here that I have written out what I want to cover in the coffee chat. This is my creative journal. So when I'm done with this, I'll write out my thoughts and stuff afterwards. This is the before, so I could get things kind of situated in my mind and figure out what was really important. But I was thinking when I was doing the bullet journal, this is not working. This is not working. I don't like this. And the reason that I feel that way, I start to feel anxious and I start to feel that way, I think has to do with, like I said, perfectionism, or feeling like there's something better. And I think our system should be able to be done in whatever notebook or planner we have. It shouldn't matter the kind of notebook or the kind of planner or the kind of journal or whatever that we have. My system in the Hobonichi works really well now, so that's not an issue. But my problem is I flip-flop back and forth between functional and pretty, or the combination of the two. And sometimes I feel like I need more function, and other times I feel like I need to be more creative. There's this split somewhere that feels like it has to be either or, and that's not true. There needs to be a happy medium, and I've been trying to find that happy medium. I don't need a bunch of different bullet journals going on at the same time. I have this, which is my A6, and it's my bullet journal sort of on the go. It's the little one. I carry this around with me. It goes in my purse. When I was sick, I had it with me on the couch, and I actually planned out Patreon's tea time in it. I do a weekly spread in it. I was doing dailies, but there's no point in doing dailies multiple places. This is my weekly for this week. And then, like I said, I did tea time. I wrote out some thoughts about tea time for Patreon in here. So I have a grocery list in here. So when I go to the grocery store, I date it, make my grocery list, carry this with me. I usually have a pen in here. The pen is right here, and it goes with me wherever. For now, I'm in the Hobonichi Avec. I have it in here, and then I'm doing most of the planning in here, and then this was where I was doing the bullet journaling. And it was going really well, but I found myself doing more and more of scripting out things, or scripting how my day was going, instead of the planning once I started doing the actual planning in the Hobonichi. So that's evolved, and I started feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm missing something. But I'm not missing anything. But I wanted to start a whole new journal. And I'm like, I am this close to the end of November, And then all I have after that is December, and then we start a whole new year. I've got stuff, the Hobonichi's ready for next year. I have the A6 little bullet journal. The Stologies are where I sort of figure things out in my head on paper, because the Hobonichi's 1 day per page. And that works really well for the to-do list and the note-taking for the day. And every now and again, I'll like do some doodles, some sketch notes in there. And I enjoy doing the sketch notes in there. So that's my system is working well now. And I think that's because I have sort of let it evolve. But in the middle of it evolving, I was questioning everything. Oh my God, I need to start. This is just, I was feeling the anxiety because I was midstream of changing things and really getting my flow with things. And it doesn't matter what what journal I'm doing, what journal I'm bullet journaling in, unless I'm being creative in it, and then I need to have paper that will be conducive to wet media. How many bullet journals does one person need to have at one time? Now, I also have my spiritual journal, which I've been revamping, and I'm going to show that in another video. The longer version is going to go on Patreon at the end of this week. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to get that filmed tonight so that I can get it up for Patreon tomorrow. But I think sometimes you have to consider why you feel the need to set aside a journal. Why you want to go out of it and go to something new. What is it? Why is it? Ask yourself some of those questions. Now, if I could create the perfect journal, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What size would it be? If I could create the perfect planner, what would it look like? What size would it be? How would it work? What kind of paper? And then look at your current journal, your current planner, your current thing, and go, what is it about this that isn't my perfect journal or my perfect planner? Are you pleased with the pages, with the journal, with how you're using it overall? And if you're not, what would it take to make it be your perfect planner, your perfect journal? I mean, how far away from the perfect? And I don't believe in planner piece. I do believe we get to a place with journals and planners where we're content, but because things change, we evolve, and we grow. Our journals and notebooks and planners and stuff need to evolve and grow and change too. I think what I needed 5 years ago is different than what I need right now. I've changed. How I use things has changed. Is your planner, your journal, is it helping you stay organized? Is it helping you be more creative? Are you being more creative? Are you being more organized? I know it can get overwhelming. I have been there. I'm there quite a lot, actually, by all the options that are out there. And people keep showing stuff. Like, I just saw where somebody did the unboxing of the daily free Hobonichi. And as much as I want it, I just cannot see spending the money on that. I got the Hobonichi as a present, and what I need it for, I need to start planning out my weeks better for Patreon and YouTube, getting more organized, staying organized, being consistent, holding myself accountable. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I have it kind of together. Now, for people who don't use weekly planning, it's great. For people who use a calendar and then daily pages, I think that would be wonderful. And for me, in some ways, that would be great, be wonderful as a bullet journal. But I already have what I'm doing, and I think it's working really well. Because I've taken some of the aspects of the bullet journal that really work for me, like some of the collections and the journaling part, the figuring things out part, the note-taking part, the research part, different things like that. And I have that in here, in the B6. And then in my Hobonichi, I have the planning part of the bullet journal. And my brain works like that. So as the day progresses, I write things down on the daily page in the Hobonichi. But when I'm setting things up or I'm figuring something out, once I get to the point where there's this little mark in the Hobonichi on the daily page, and it's like, I've got this idea that's there because I've rapid logged. And I've talked about this. I'm not a big fan of rapid logging, but there are times when I do rapid log, when I have an idea and I write it down quickly, and then I go back and I write it out. Take that idea and I expand it in here. So the Hobonichi's working well as a planner / sort of bullet journal. But I have taken the aspects of the bullet journaling and the planning and sort of done what works for me. It feels like I'm a journaler at heart, not a planner. I'm only planning to keep my day organized, to be more organized, to stay on task, to hold myself accountable. So I don't screw things up completely, because my ADHD brain needs lists. I need lists. I need like a running list. And I figured that out. Like, I actually need a running list. So one of the things I'm going to be doing throughout this month, for the rest of this month and in December, is having a running list of things, of the big things. Now, not the little weekly task, like, you know, but the bigger things, which will work for the month. I think like a running month, a list of to-dos for, say, November. When I see other people using certain things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I bet you that would work so well. Or I'm not sure about that. When I go, I'm not sure about that, I know to just keep on going. Don't even think about it. But when I get that, I wonder if that would, I have to remind myself, what do I love about what I'm doing right now? And if this isn't working, when this gets to a point where it's not working because I've changed, I've evolved, then I can consider something else. Cindy Gwintart Baldo just showed this combination planner bullet journal thing with the cats and her name on it. Awesome. But I've already got that. I was thinking about it. I've already got that right here, how I had this. This is the AVEC. This is the AVEC right here. And then I have a journal right here, where I could do bullet journaling. I had a different notebook in there in the beginning of the year when I had the first part of the AVEC in there. There was a different notebook, and I was kind of doing that. But after a while, I kind of got tired of having certain things where I had to kind of flip back and forth. What I'm using is really working, because I start out, the Hobonichi usually stays open on my desk to the daily page, and I can flip to the week and look at the week and go, okay, this is what I've got. I've already done these things. These are the things I still need to do for the week. But then I'm looking at the daily page and I'm going, okay, these are the things I still need to do today. If I get these things done, then I can go and I can do that thing that I didn't do the other day. You know? So I've been rearranging how I prioritize. And I'm trying to be better at time management. Time management's one of my hardest things. I did your Plan Your Piece with Allie Brown a long while back. I've recently just gone back to the time thing. I printed it out. I did not print it out the way that she said, because I wanted to do this and I want to put it in my journal and set it up in my journal. I don't like doing this kind of thing. I want it to actually be in my journal. I wanted to print it out so I could see how it was set up and do it in my journal. So I'm going to set it up this afternoon, and while I'm doing some other things, watching some videos, I'm going to be setting it up because I have to catch up on a couple of things. And I'm going to be setting that time tracking up, and I'll be starting tomorrow morning tracking my time. For me, I can see a whole bunch of other things out there. I can go, ooh, look. But I can't afford to get everything I see. I can't afford to get half of what I see. I have to be conscious about how I spend my money. I realize too that we are in control of our journals, our planners, whether or not we finish them, how functional they are. Your system should be able to work in anything. It should be able to work in a composition notebook. It should be able to work in anything. It shouldn't matter what you have available to you. But you should be able to use it in a composition notebook and have it work just fine, or a regular planner, or it should be able, you don't need all the fancy things. The fancy things are nice. But if you're having issues with your core planning, or your core, the whole, with the bullet journal thing, if you're having, because bullet journaling is not planning, but you do plan in the bullet journal. So if you're having, I'm just going to say, if you're having issues with your system, with your journal, then perhaps it's time to go back to the basics. And I've done that quite a few times. And whenever I start to get that, I switch my perspective around and I go back to, okay. So lately I've gone back to some of my journals to finish them, which is why I'm back in the Hobonichi, which is why, although this was the bullet journal, I'm doing things differently in it now. I have another bullet journal that I started in One Book July and then put aside, and that has become my morning pages journal. I don't have an issue with stopping a journal when I cannot stand the journal. If there is something about that journal just I do not connect with, if it's the paper or something about that journal that I just cannot stand, I will stop that journal in a heartbeat. I don't have a problem with that. I have found what really works for me more. I am trying out some new things. I have thought about in December trying out more of an insert based kind of thing, because I'm getting to the point now as I get older, or maybe just since I've been doing this for a long while, that I don't like the super chunky journals. I think I like around 100 to 150 pages for my journal. That works the best for me, because in the journal that I document my life in, because after a while, and I talked about this in a live video, and I showed how chunky these 400 page journals are just not working for me anymore. They get entirely too chunky on the one side, and then they get uncomfortable to use. So I'm thinking, when I ordered my journal from Bree that I showed, when I ordered this, I ordered the 100 page journal, and this feels like it's a little big right now, but when I start really working in this journal, it will not be. And it will grow as I journal in it. And it has 100 pages. This is mixed media paper and Tomaway River paper. That's my preference for these kind of journals, because I tend to do more of this sketching kind of thing on the mixed media paper. Whenever I get to this place, like this side has the mixed media paper, this side has the Tomaway River paper. I will do my drawing on this page more, and I'll do like more of the writing, or I will intersect them sometimes, just depends. But I have found that I'm much more likely to stick through and finish a journal when it's only around 100 pages. 150 pages or so. The Breeze from Taroko Design, I think, is 183 pages. That's the biggest I think I'll be going. And those it works really well for me when it's about this size, because they still get chunky, and I do love a chunky monkey journal, but they're very hard to work in. And because I have arthritis, I have found that the chunky ones, they're just getting harder for me to work in. That's something I've learned about myself, and I kept going, well, I don't want to finish this journal. It got to a certain point where it get to like about halfway through, when it get to around 200 and so pages, when I started going, oh, I need to start a new journal. I need to start a new journal. This is just not working. And it wasn't that the journal itself wasn't working. It was the number of pages that wasn't working. Have you stopped using a journal for any reason? Is there a specific thing that you notice? Like, is there a pattern? Like for me, I figured out the pattern. About 200 pages or so. That's max, really, for me in my Document My Life journal, my art journal. Do you want to finish your journals? Because I love having a finished journal. There is something so satisfying about having a finished journal. And I've talked about this in a video before. What do you think about, do you make yourself finish journals? Because I realized when I was looking at that chunky monkey of a journal that still had like 200 pages left in it, because I think that journal had 480 pages, when I still had like 240 or 50 pages to go, I was like, there's no way. What do you do when, do you find yourself not finishing journals because of certain reasons? For me, it's a comfortability factor, it's perfectionism, and it's FOMO usually. And now that I've kind of figured out what and why and when and where this happens, I've kind of gotten to the point where I've figured out how to make things work for me, so that I can either reuse, like go back and pick it up and use it again, or repurpose journals, or like I can take them apart and then repurpose, sort of like take the other part, like with that big journal, well, the thick journal, because I had cut it down to B6. I need to get some bookbinding tape, and I will worry about that later. For now, I'm happy with what I have, and I know that I picked a pretty good setup for 2020. Do I have some, oh, I wish. Yeah. There's a part of me that wants to get the weeks, even though I have barely used the weeks. If I counted up how much I've actually used it throughout this whole year, it would not be very much. It's not worth getting it again. So then I'm going to sell my cover, I think, which is a chic sparrow cover. Are you not bothered at all if a journal's unfinished? Do you have an issue with finishing journals? I think the core reason for for the bullet journal thing is usually perfectionism. For my art journal thing, it's comfortability usually. I really do think it's important though, if you get to a point where you've got a journal and you're trying your hardest to work in it and it's just not working out, you don't connect with it, you don't mesh with it, I don't have a problem with letting go of one of those, not finishing that. But it's time for me to get back to doing some more of what I've got to do for today. I have some food to fix, I have some dinner to cook, I have a kitchen to clean, and some writing to do. It is actually Writer Wednesday, so Writer Wednesday might be tomorrow. I will see y'all again real soon. Let me know in the comments below if you've had an issue with finishing or not finishing a journal, if you have half-finished journals, if you can relate to this topic at all, and don't forget to like, give me a little thumbs up, and to hit the bell for the notifications. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Thank you so much. I'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.